Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Dip Yanko. In tonight's game plan, we take a look at the upcoming 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. And we break down rookie standouts from the PVL Invitational Conference.
Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. All throughout the PVL Invitational Conference, we kept mentioning all these super rookies that gave instant boosts to their respective squads. And after all that's happened in this super quick conference, let's assess who lived up to the hype in the rookie class of 2023. Now joining us to discuss the rookie standouts is PVL analyst Paneng Mercado de Koning-Schwarter. Paneng, how are you doing?
Hi, Dip! Hi, Paolo! I'm here now live sa PVL, sa Phil Sports Arena. Sobrang dami tao. Very exciting games this afternoon.
You know, so many exciting games, and unfortunately, we can't talk about the games happening right now kasi mamaya sa later airing natin, mahirapan na yung mga fans. So, let's focus on something that we can talk about all around, and that is the rookie standouts this conference in particular. Paneng, grabe yung mga rookies this year, this conference in particular. What do you have to say about this current crop of rookies in terms of the quality that they bring sa PVL?
Well, a lot of our rookies, galing sila sa UAAP, right? Sometimes they were the leader of their team going back to the UAAP, but this time sa Pro League, as in nakakasabay sila sa mga pro athletes right now, even their seniors. And definitely, makikita sa kanila na nag-enjoy sila every time na may game yung team sila.
Right, Paneng. And with that said, we have a question to ask you. If PVL were to have a Rookie of the Year, sino sa tingin mo yung mananalo or who are the candidates of this year's batch for the PVL? And
Hindi to official, Paneng. The list that you give out is not the official PVL list. We have to emphasize that. Pero sino nga ba yung mga nominees mo if ever meron?
Well, actually, super hirap mamili dahil sobrang daming talents for this conference. But I chose 4 rookies for this conference. First is si Cici Rondina of the Chocomucho Flying Titans. You know, she last played indoor volleyball during the 2019 PSL with Petron Blaze Spikers, and they won the championship during the 2017 All-Filipino Conference for the Philippine Superliga. Though she had a 4-year hiatus because she focused on the beach volleyball tournaments, kung saan naka-bronze medal siya noong 2019 Southeast Asian Games and 2021 Southeast Asian Games, at nag-gold medal din sila noong 2022 FIVB Beach Volleyball Tournament. So, parang, di ba, parang maisipin natin, iba yung talent pag nasa outdoor volleyball ka. Pero grabe, 4-year hiatus in indoor volleyball, hindi mo mahalata because very reliable ito si Cici Rondina. And she is currently the top scorer for the Chocomucho Flying Titan squad.
Yeah, you know, alam mo, a lot of people were saying that the CC still have it sa indoor because obviously, mahaba nga yung break niya, but I think she showed everyone na kaya niya. So I'm gonna jump the gun a bit here and reveal yung susunod mo na mga nominees and just ask you questions about them. Itong si Faith Nispero, someone that grabe yung hype going into yung PVL, going in for the Carry Chargers. Pero alam mo, mabagal yung simula niya eh. What changed in her throughout the conference that put her in this list para sa'yo?
Well, yeah, like what you mentioned, she definitely had a slow start, but nag-pick up siya ng final few games nila. And she's the number 1 scorer for the Akari Chargers. And number 11 siya as the best scorer for the league so far. And number 8 in spiking. So I think what's important here is, though she had a slow start, but as a rookie, she's very reliable inside the court for the Akari Chargers. Not just in the front row, but maaasahan mo din si Faith in the back row with her digs and reception. So very big help itong si Faith for the whole squad.
Arguably, the most sought-after recruit itong si Faith Nisperos coming out of college. But of course, we also have another player out of the UP Lady Fighting Maroons, si Lai Bertolano. Medyo ripe na rin to, Paneng. What can you say about her performance, especially with a new team like Jerflor?
Well, actually, she only played 2 years with the UP Fighting Maroons and she decided to join the Pro League now. And number one scorer itong si Liber Tolano for the Jer Floor Defenders. Number 21 siya sa scoring, best scorers for the league. And number 3 in number 2 in receiving, and number 3 in serving. So for me, it's very important talaga if you're a spiker, is nakakatulong ka not just in the front row but in the back row. She's definitely one of the go-to players ng floor defenders. Ang ganda ng receive niya. That's why we saw that in the statistics. Kahit na wala silang napanalo for this conference, or medyo slow start for this team, she still proved that she's one of the best players there for us.
Alam mo, the next one that you pick is very interesting to me because yung expectations ng nominee na to was through the roof going into the PVL. Pero pagdating niya sa PVL, not necessarily hitting those expectations. Maybe some of them were unrealistically high. Itong si Ea Laure, you take a look at what she's done, yung performance niya here in the conference so far. It's always going to be tough to live up to yung malaking billing. But what do you have to say about your performance niya this conference?
Well, during the crossovers first game of the conference, siya yung nakascore ng madami, like 14 points siya and 15 receptions. The most among all rookies who had their first game during that day. Like what you mentioned, the statistics weren't as impressive as expected, but she delivered when she was needed. One of the go-to spikers itong si Ea Laure. Though she was 39 in the best score for this league, pero number 5 siya in the receiving department. So whenever kailangan makapunta ng Cherry Tigo crossovers, they can always rely on Ea Laure.
With that said, Paneng, no, all these players that you mentioned are out of contention na sa semifinals. But if you were to choose one, we'll put you on the spot here ni Pao. If you were to choose one among the four, sino sa tingin mo yung pinaka nag-stand out? Not necessarily will win the Rookie of the Year, pero yung sa tingin mo after covering these games, sino yung nag-stand out?
Sorry, was that medyo nawala ka?
Yeah. If you were to choose one out of the four, who do you think stood out the most this conference?
For you.
For me, I would choose CC Rondina because very impressive in performance after this conference. Like what I mentioned, 4-year hiatus in the indoor volleyball, pero hindi mo mahalata yun dahil very consistent yung mga nilalaro niya. Every time may game itong Chocolucho, siya yung one of the top scorers ng squad. Mapa front row man yan or back row, top scorer itong si CC Rondina.
Yeah, Rondina papagod is the term we're using for CC Rondina. Paneng, I really appreciate you. Enjoy the games there. We're jealous that we're not there. Hopefully, you have a great one later. Thank you. All right, so that was Paneng Mercado de Coneshwarter joining us from the venue for the PPL.
And after the break, we'll shift to football as we put the spotlight on the Filipinas, who are hours away from their debut in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. countdown begins to the FIFA Women's World Cup as the Filipinas gear up for their debut in the biggest stage for football. Our national women's football team kicks off their campaign in Group A tomorrow with a clash against Switzerland. Let's talk to football analyst Matt Nieras, who joins us tonight. Matt, welcome to the game. Thank you for joining us. And of course, it's the debut of the Filipinas tomorrow in the FIFA Women's World Cup. We don't want to put pressure on them. Of course, it's their first appearance and they've been working hard for 18 months now. What are you most excited about, Matt, na makita from the Filipinas?
Personally, just that they're there. I mean, and if you told anyone that the Philippines would be at a World Cup, specifically the Women's World Cup, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, everyone would kind of just be like, no way.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're there is just amazing.
Obviously, we've seen them all up. I know you've seen them all up close. I've seen them all up close. You take a look at the evolution that they've had. A lot of credit has been given to Coach Alan Stejcic in the way that he's transformed this team. How would you describe that type of transformation that we've seen in the last 18 months?
Crazy that such a transformation can happen in 18 months, given this was also during the pandemic. So for a year and a half, maybe they weren't playing. They just had those qualifiers in the end of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And then 2022, they qualified for the World Cup. So then suddenly all that preparation. I mean, you had to bring in, I think it was right, you had to bring in a foreign coach, specifically someone with his experience. And then for him to be able to take the team from where they were about 2 years ago to where they are now is very, very impressive. I think we have to applaud the work him and his team and the management have done.
And now, less than 24 hours away from their first ever FIFA Women's World Cup match against Switzerland in particular.
Right, and he said that it wasn't easy, coming up with a final lineup to bring into the World Cup. But again, 1 p.m. tomorrow, they will play Switzerland here in Manila time. What can we expect from that matchup? What do the Filipinas need to do to be able to come up with that win or at least a draw against Switzerland?
That's tough because to play on basically the biggest stage of football is, I mean, no one really has that experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on a personal note, like how you would take every game, you just give it your all. I mean, trying to play a game, like if it's a final each and every time, you just give your all. Hopefully everyone knows their job.
Yeah, their role.
Their team does what they need to do, and they, at minimum, they get a draw. Keeps that hope alive of progressing through the tournament. But a win would be amazing, obviously.
A lot of people are going to look at the world rankings and say, oh, the Filipinas are ranked 46 in the world, Switzerland are ranked number 20, therefore it's going to be a wash. But we saw a few hours ago or a few minutes ago, New Zealand defeating Norway 1-0, their group mates, by the way, in what is a monumental upset, at least in the Women's World Cup stage. Are we, I know that we're always going to be underdogs because of the rankings, but does that give hope for Filipino fans, knowing that, the rankings don't necessarily indicate how games will go?
Yeah, that's definitely something that is a thing in football or in sports in general. Everyone loves the underdog Cinderella story. That's basically what happened in the qualifiers leading up to the team making it to the World Cup. So in that sense, I want to say I want to be realistic.
Yeah.
But you also want to hope.
Yeah.
Right. So you prepare for the worst, hope for the best kind of scenario.
Now let's talk about the external factors that they have to deal with. Playing in New Zealand, the temperature drops up to -7.
It's winter there.
Right.
Yeah.
-7 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure if you've played in similar situations before, but if you're the Filipinas right now, how do you deal with this type of environment?
I want to say they're somewhat adjusted. They have been playing in Australia. They did their camp basically the last year in Australia. A lot of the players are playing in Australia or in Europe.
Yeah.
But obviously that kind of temperature is very cold. Nothing I personally have experienced. Maybe once a long time ago, but recently obviously not. I want to say that preparation they've had in Australia made it easier for them, so they don't have to. They're not suddenly like shocked by the temperatures or the situation they're in.
So, yeah, we're very tropical people. Lahat tayo nalalamigan when we talk about winters in other countries. So, a lot of people would remember, if you take a look at the research on the recent form of the Filipinas, they lost 5-1 against Sweden in their most recent friendly. Coach Alan Stejcic this morning said that there was another friendly with a high-profile team that they will not reveal that was also good for the team in terms of their preparation. But apart from that, we went from a team that played only 2 games a year as an international team to now playing literally almost 60 or 70 international games in the past 2 years. How much of a factor is that type of preparation going into this World Cup, especially against nations who are ranked way above us?
Huge, because like you just said, sometimes they play 2, maybe single-digit games the whole year. So then you have those players together only for a few games. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they played 29 in all of 2022, which is more than how many years combined. Especially when he had to bring in new players, see if they're going to fit his system. He's trying to see if the old ones can still keep up. And it's a lot of factors, especially like you guys mentioned earlier, how having to come up with that lineup. And like you're trying to respect the players that brought the team there,
Right.
but you also have to be like, is this the best lineup I can come up with now in this moment? Who's available? Like, I'm sure there are so many other players they wanted to get, but maybe they couldn't get their passports in time, or all that other stuff. So
Yeah, so a lot of factors involved there. So here's a little fun fact about the team. Dip, how old are you if you're willing to reveal your age?
26.
You're 26. Matt, how old are you?
30.
You're 30, right? I'm above 30. I'm not going to mention a number. Our average age here is more than our national team, which is at 24.6. We're a very young group.
team.
You take and we have one player who's around 35 who brought that up. You take a look at that average age. Is that a cause for concern or excitement, considering the enormity of the event happening?
a little bit of both. I mean, you don't want your younger players to be overwhelmed by the moment. That's why you obviously need those senior players, the experienced players. But also, if you have these young players now and at this age they have World Cup experience, and they've made it to the World Cup now, so the expectation is they're going to make it to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming the core of this team or most of this team stays together, you hope that as the years go by, they progress as well.
Right. Let's dig deeper into the lineup. We mentioned that, again, the final lineup wasn't easy
Yeah.
to be made up for this World Cup. But let's go specific this time. I'm sure everyone has to play well to get a shot up there. But who do you think are the X factors who should step up and lead the team, especially in the match tomorrow?
That's a tough one. Usually, by default, you're always going to look at the spine.
Yeah.
So your keeper, your center backs, your center mids, and your strikers. So you've had Olivia McDaniel there in the back. Huge penalty save.
Yeah.
Right.
That got them to qualify. Defenders have been rotating a bit. Some injuries.
So,
Unavailable.
one player hasn't rotated, and that's Hailey Long.
Hailey Long. She's been that rock at the back for the Philippines. And then so her obviously you don't expect much because she's just always there.
Yeah.
And then I think Angela Beard is going to be a player that everyone's going to have high expectations of.
Yeah.
Former
Australian player.
Australian national team player,
yeah.
recently switched over. I want to say we're lucky that she was still allowed to switch over. She played just 3 games for Australia, which is the limit.
maximum, yeah.
Yep. And most recently, I think her last call was 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So for her, in that sense, where she's still able to play in the World Cup, although not with the team she initially planned on.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much to think of. And right now, we're just going to go through all the names, and everyone can really step up. But, Matt, you take a look at what this could mean for the Philippines. Let's say we do draw. Let's say we do get a single point here, or maybe even 3 against Switzerland. Just what do you think that would mean for the local Filipino community getting a result against Switzerland?
Absolutely huge. I don't know how you would be able to really show your emotion aside from just screaming happiness. I mean, there's no feeling like winning, even if it's just a simple, 7-side open play game or like a serious final or obviously the World Cup. So, I mean, if they win, everyone going nuts, I think.
We're excited for that
So
possibility.
excited.
We're
So
excited for that
excited.
possibility. Matt, maraming salamat. Really appreciate you being here. And hopefully, we have a lot more joyful things to talk about with regards to FIFA Women's World Cup in the Filipinas soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
So we've got good news because Signal is giving sports fans an opportunity to watch the Filipinas make history in the biggest women's sporting event in the world. All matches of the Philippines women's national football team will air live and for free on One Sports and the Filipinas Live app. Download the app now on Google Play or the Apple App Store to get live access to your favorite sporting events. After the break, we'll check out some highlights from the recent watch party of the WNBA All-Star Game featuring the Gilas women. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. to play here as we are out to celebrate the WNBA All-Star Game. And some of the biggest and brightest stars of Philippine women's basketball are here present. Let's find out who's here and see what they have to say.
The All-Star Game is really the ideal platform to showcase, the energy and the excitement of the WNBA, the talent of our teams and our players. It's really a celebration of women's basketball. So we can't all be in Las Vegas to watch the game. So we think if there's no better way to do it than to celebrate here in the Philippines, where our fans are so passionate, where we have a thriving and really strong women's basketball community.
When are we gonna see you sa WNBA All-Star?
Maybe in 2 years, joke lang. Siyempre, having this kind of, watch party and seeing the best of the women's basketball play in the biggest stage, it really inspires me, I think not just me, but everybody who's in this room. Like, that nothing is impossible if you just keep working and you're being true to yourself and you really like what you're doing. I think sooner or later, we're gonna be there also. Representation matters. Kasi ako, if I don't have the strong women to role model, I think I wouldn't be where I am right now. Just keep pushing and to see this kind of talented, strong women and, just not just in basketball, but outside the basketball, what they're doing. And it's also inspired me to be better, not just my basketball skills, but also to be better as a person.
I mean, it's hard to want to be someone that you can't see. I mean, it's a great example to be seeing people who have chosen this sport and making a living out of it. And I think that's what so many people here in the Philippines want to do. So to be able to see it in the flesh, I think it solidifies that our dream is actually possible to happen. I like Kelsey Plum a lot. Her attitude, the way she fights for the ball, she demands space even though she's not that tall compared to the other girls. I think just her amas is what I love to see.
It's very important. You see the people or the girls here, the future, the past, the present are all here watching. And now they can obviously see kung sino na yung pwede nilang idolize more than before. Like 10 years ago, we can only watch the NBA players, right? Right now, they're being familiarized with the girls like them. And medyo siguro mas maganda ma-shift yung idea na ito yung mas mga kaya nilang gawin because they're watching the women's.
I'm excited to see what is up next for WNBA and of course women's basketball here in the Philippines. But until then, we'll just have to see and just enjoy stuff like this, the WNBA All-Star Game. Once again, I'm Paulo de Rosario. We are One News.
On to more hoops. The Gilas boys have officially swept the Siaba Championships in Indonesia. The Philippine Under-16 team completed their perfect run after beating host team Indonesia 77-65. Kiefer Alas was once again the high point man with 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists. After their unbeaten 3-game streak, the Gilas boys have now qualified for the 2023 FIBA Under-16 Asian Championships in September.
On that note, come and watch the best basketball players in the globe and cheer them on live inside the venues. The FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023 single game pass is now available for as low as 499 pesos. Get your tickets at SM Tickets, Ticketnet, or via philippines-ticketing.worldcup.basketball.
And of course,
Dip is the worst.
we can't end the show without greeting you a happy birthday, partner.
Thank you very much, Dip. Thank you. Maraming salamat,
Happy
guys.
birthday.
Thank you.
Age reveal.
Wala. Wag. Buti nga walang numbers eh. But guys, really appreciate you and thank you very much to everyone watching here. I could not miss the show and do this kasi alam ko Dip will come out with the cake eh. Maraming salamat. Again, Dip, thank you. Really
Happy birthday,
appreciate you.
brother.
And to the rest of the crew and the team, maraming salamat. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Dip Dipianco.
And I'm Paulo de Rosario. Guys, this weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. This has been The Game. Thank you.